computer. All right, there we have it. What was it? What was the title of that again? It was Modern Physics is Forcing Us to Rethink Existence. I don't know whether I'm maybe slightly disappointed in the content versus the title. I was expecting her to tell us how we must rethink modern existence, but she did really. I mean, but it's a lot of it is stuff that we know really. But it was a good rundown of all the weird things in physics actually, which it's just too weird for us to think about all the time, so we don't. I don't know. Well, that's what my view. So, I mean, things like the universe being two-dimensional, a hologram. Although it's all very thought-provoking, of course. What do you guys think? Got a comment?
I think it was a brilliant talk. She's an outstanding lecturer, succeeding in conveying difficult concepts in a very simple way. I think just by way of illustration, graphic illustration that the universe was not designed to be perceived or understood by the human brain, and the analogy with a grasshopper and us and more that we can't even perceive. I think that was very brilliant. So it was interesting, and I do think thought-provoking. But she does succeed in conveying difficult concepts very, very simply. Probably one of the best that I can remember in a while.
Yeah, I like the idea of time being an emergent property, not intrinsic. I strongly suspect that gravity may be the same. Gravity might be an emergent property as well, personally. That's the sort of thing, it's the sort of thing you think about it and your brain goes around in circles while she's talking about it. And I think there must be quite a few magnetic fields in my brain now from all the electrons spinning around in circles.
Well, she was addressing you directly, Derek, when she spoke about time.
I'm sure. Yeah. Now, look, remember, Einstein also said you cannot separate time and space, actually. And so did a few others, like Carlo Rovelli. They're one and the same thing. Okay, I think I saw Chris Stewart had a mic on just now. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot to unpack here. One of the problems we have is time, and we say that time started at the singularity we call the Big Bang. So there was no time before that. And, our human experience frames our thought processes, and we say, but how can something happen without there having been time before that, And the other big question is, how does something get made out of nothing? You have a point, and everything in the universe sprung from one point. And what came before that? If time didn't exist, there can't be a before. So these are contradictory kind of concepts that are really hard for people to grasp, because we live in our 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time. And so this is outside our experience, and even imagining it is hard. However, just this week, I saw some youngsters just come up with the maths that show how things have been created from nothing, right? In other words, how space can come into being. I haven't got a handle on who that was or what he said, but that's the crux of the matter.
Yeah, Chris, I seem to remember the way she put it, I seem to remember her saying that people think that the theory is that space came out of nothing, but that's not true. I seem to remember her actually saying that. So she according to science, it didn't come out of nothing. It came out of something which we don't know what it is, but it didn't come out of nothing. So a little bit like, virtual particles popping out of space. They're not coming from. They don't just appear out of nothing. It is something being converted into a virtual particle and back again into energy. So it is energy converting to stuff. And that's the way I see it. It's the only way I can conceive of the Big Bang happening, is that it had to be something which was in a state which we don't know what it was, which converted into matter and started forming the universe. That's the only way I can conceive of it.
We don't have the language to explain these concepts, right?
Yeah,
there's nothing in our experience that prepares us for this.
Mm.
There will always be the question of, so what happened before? Where did it come from? How did it arise? And all of those questions are framed in terms of space and time as we know it.
I have a problem with my mind existing at the same time as a concept that we don't know where it came from. I just imagine something which is unlike anything we know, but there was something. So otherwise, my mind can't rest. I have to imagine something.
I think even the San had an expression, was that time is the dream between whence time began and time ceased to be. So if that was a dream, that's everything we know, everything from before, or from eternity to before eternity, is actually a dream. So if a dream is the reality, then what time, I think what you said with Einstein said between time and space, he introduced the concepts of those limitations. So it's not only the grasshopper, it's the humans who we often would think are not sophisticated in astrophysics enough to have answers, but they equally have answers to those impossible areas she's talking about. And it's more the need for our humility to realize we are far less than just that little proton in a whole arm of ones of trillions of things. And all one can do is just appreciate the total beauty and mystery of it all. And to think that I think we continue striving to understand better. And the fact that James Webb and all whatever, we're just doing everything in infrared that we can't even see at the moment is what's telling us about. I think yesterday they found that dark spot that they went to was, trillions more galaxies that happened in the first, available in that first 400 years or 400,000 years when we perceive things to be earlier observable. But when you go into that 400,000 in some of the mediums we can now use, we actually see there are trillions of other. I don't want to quote the numbers because I just enjoy the fantasticness of it all and the nothingness of the wonder of the nothingness of our little insignificance in that totality.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it very much. I go with Pierre. I think it was a very, very good analogy of kind of.
One thing I have a problem with is the information loss problem in the black hole. I don't understand why it has to be a problem. Maybe I don't understand the science well enough. But to me, okay, the information is disappearing into the black hole, but why can't it still be there? It's just the fact that it can't get out of the black hole that people say no, it doesn't exist anymore. Maybe it still exists, but it just stays in the black hole. So I don't know. Pierre, I don't know if you've got any comment on that. I've got it wrong.
No, I think it gets back to the same concept that she said. The universe was not designed to be able to be perceived by the human mind. And an illustration of the limited wavelengths that our eyes can actually perceive, of the multitude of physical processes that happen in the universe at other wavelengths, I think is the same kind of thing. We can't conceive what happens inside the event horizon. So actually to try and speculate what happens there and describe it all, I think is pointless. We just have to accept it. We
No,
can't
that's
we
my
can't
view. I mean,
observe
how
it.
do they know the information has been destroyed? You know, you've got to go inside the black hole yourself and then come back out and tell people, okay, no, I saw the information there. But you can't, because it's impossible. I don't know.
I think all of these are a little bit tautological. All our arguments ultimately devolved that old thing about it's turtles all the way down. You know, that worldview where we've got, the elephant standing on the turtle and wada, and you say, well, then what's the turtle standing on? Well, answer is forever, it's turtles all the way down. This is where we're at, we hit some sort of a point in our descriptions where our understanding fails. And after that, it's equivalent of turtles all the way down.
I saw a whole lot of mics initially on when people looked like they wanted to say stuff. Who else wants to make comments? Oh, got a question? Pete, I thought I saw your mic on for a moment on stage.
Yeah, when we were talking about the beginning of everything, it just brought to mind something called the creation paradox. I don't know if you've ever heard of the creation paradox. It goes along something along the lines of a person taking back Beethoven's Fifth Symphony, putting it into a time machine and taking it back to Beethoven when he was very, very young. And saying, Beethoven, what do you think of this piece of music? And he likes it and says, oh, I'll write that. I'll call it the Fifth Symphony. So the question is, who actually created the Beethoven's Fifth Symphony? It couldn't have been Beethoven because he got it from the future. And it can't be from the future because we got it from the past, So maybe the universe is self-replicating. It doesn't need a beginning. I think that's the point.
Yeah, well, if you ask me, that situation is not a problem, Pete, because time doesn't exist.
No,
time,
actually,
time
I
doesn't
do.
exist, so time travel doesn't exist.
No, I think time does exist. It's what prevents all events happening at the same time. You've got to have time. Otherwise, I could be sitting on my own knee, couldn't I?
I don't know how scientists explain quantum action at a distance. Okay.
I don't know how to do that. Yeah.
That obviously happens without time differences, that two particles react to each other instantaneously. But how to explain that? How do you explain that unless time doesn't exist?
No.
Okay.
Okay, sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Lane.
Okay, can I go? Sorry, I think I interrupted Pete there. No, it was just a thought being that we only have 5 senses. So we can only perceive things through those 5 senses. Now, there might be all kinds of things happening that we aren't even aware of. We can't search for them. We can't record them because we only search for and perceive and look for those things which we are aware of. I don't know what they could be, but telepathic waves, I have no idea.
What's telepathy? Isn't that another sense, a 6th sense?
Yeah, there's actually a lot of senses. That's actually a good point, actually, because I've often wondered, we say the speed of light, but supposing we're all blind, supposing we were bats, we wouldn't have any concept of the speed of light. So everything to us would be the speed of sound, So maybe there is some sense that we are not aware of that explains everything. It's just hidden from us.
The fun is
it's like that fish that's a prawn that can punch goggles out of deep sea divers, and it's got 14 prime colors that it sees in. And as you say, we just got in sight, our small little bit of the wave structure. But as those wave structures move out and we move beyond all the colors of ultraviolet and infrared, there's just more and more I was listening to something last night where this person, it was really fantastic. I thought it really just said the problem with astronomy and well, cosmology particularly, is that all the science has proved this 13.8 billion. And she just said, we've got to accept that that's totally wrong. So we as wrong as Galileo was about thinking the world was the center of everything. Because what we know by as fact now with what we're picking up is that 13.8 billion it's the maths and the physics answer, but it's actually wrong because there's a whole lot that happens in that first 400,000 years that we're now picking up that doesn't make sense in that, well, a number of things, but that's one of the things. So almost anybody who's learning cosmology is learning stuff that's at least 4 years old, and it shouldn't be taught that way. It should be taught, what is Voyager still showing as uh, the old kind of Rolls Royce out there, the engine just keeping going and finding stuff that all the modern astrophysicists can't understand. It's picking up stuff out there that is not in our vocabulary or understanding. You've got James Webb with all the modern technology also showing all sorts of stuff. So it's almost a subject you just it's fantastic that you put together the kind of articles that we see, but on Facebook there's even more. So I think it just makes the whole subject more interesting, wonderful, and yeah.
I have this vision of teams of James Webb scientists all over the world frantically working on stuff, trying to create theories to explain stuff that James Webb is finding, that they're thinking of a way to tell us about it that they're too scared to tell us about because it conflicts with current knowledge, sort of thing. I think these are exciting times. These are really exciting times. And with all the new stuff going up as well, the Roman telescope and all those things about to go up, quite exciting times to be living in.
Yeah. But Harari had that, Harari, however you say his name.
Harari, yeah.
Yeah, he was kind of saying in a thing that he spoke yesterday that, look, you've got to accept everything we have are systems made through words, and, AI anything that is originated by words and our systems of thinking are gone. AI is definitely going to be able to do all of that faster. You've got to accept that. And he gets into kind of, well, can it have relationships with other AIs? Can it have love? Is it possible that something a human has made can, and it really, yeah, as you say, it's a totally new world that we're living in, and we need to just see ourselves as in time being as idiotic as it was for Copernicus or whoever to think what he thought at that time, because the mystery is always greater.
Talking about AI, talking to AI, my son is in the process of producing a robot as a student project, and he showed us a video the other day where now the robot's got an AI intelligence which answers questions when you ask it, and he's been sending us videos every now and then where he asks the robot a question and the robot looks at something, describes it, or answers his question. So my son set an AI program a task of questioning the robot, and they started having a conversation with each other. The computer AI was having a conversation with the robot, and the robot was talking back, and they were having a whole conversation. It was incredible.
Yeah. Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, that's the problem when they actually create conversations with languages we don't understand and can't understand what they're doing. Where do you kind of keep what we think should be the balance? But maybe humans have done their time. We got to give it away to a robot.
All right. I think that was great food for thought. Anybody else got something to? Can we wrap it up and say? I think we can wrap it up and say, actually, yes, these are exciting times. There's so much mystery to be discovered that we're never going to be short of anything interesting.
Sure.
It was most enjoyable. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Thanks,
Thank you, everybody.
Bye-bye. Valuable
Cheers all.
contributions.
Thanks a lot, Derek. Thought it made a big change from the normal HOU topics.
Yeah.
Very good.
Right.
Well done.
Okay, cheers, everybody. Enjoy your supper.
Right.